Hello. So let's take a look at the decks I worked with this week. So I've labeled this one as mystical and illuminating, and it definitely was that. It was also quite shadowy. These decks sort of did play with the shadow more than the light. The first deck that I used this week is the True Black Tarot. And I do find this one, like, someone, I still can't remember who it was, mentioned that it's an angelic sort of vibe from them, and now I can't unsee that. It's definitely got that angelic vibe, especially with the human figures. I love this deck. This was, I think, one of my first independent decks that I bought. It's a rose petal finish, but it's the rose petal that does not stick. So I don't know how they do it, but it doesn't stick. I love this one. The honeycomb in the background. The imagery is stunning. It's very evocative. It's very powerful. It's very sort of otherworldly. I absolutely adore it. The card stock is amazing. So these are the backs. They've got black foiling, and it's on the front of some of the cards as well. So I don't know if that's going to pick up, but that's a halo above the temperance, yin and yang symbol. I love this deck. The guidebook, I would say, could be a bit better. It definitely does sway more to the shadow elements of the less, like, you wouldn't think the Four of Wands would be shadowy, but somehow they managed to bring that in there. They also have a lot of information that explains why they've chosen that artwork, especially if it includes like actual historic pieces from this world. They'll be like, this is from this expedition and in this era, and I find that really fascinating. So you've got a bit of history with the explanations in this deck, and like I said, I'll read from the guidebook later while I do the flip through. But it's been so lovely to work with it. I do tend not to work with it too much. I love this deck card because I'm a bit precious about this deck. I absolutely love it, and it's like one of those, if I was going to get a backup deck, if I was one of those people, this would be the one that I choose a backup of. But at this moment in time, I'm like, no, I'm not quite there yet. If I have a really good financial year, then yes, I'll treat myself to a backup. But I just, I'm a huge fan. This deck wasn't even a second thought about whether or not it would ever leave my collection. It's never leaving. It is never leaving. We are going to be together forever. Next up, I used this deck in here, so let's take it out of its little pouch. And this deck is the Moon Witch Oracle. So this one has such a like night and day vibe. So these are the backs, which I really like the colors. I love the aesthetic of that. And it's got the matte gold on the side, and then the front is the inverse, which is still beautiful, but I think I would have liked them flipped, like have the backs be that beautiful black with gold night sort of feeling, have the fronts be the day. This is beautifully done. It's on a satin cardstock, quite thick. It's got the foiling, which is always lovely. I love foiling. I'm a foil fan. This is which is my first sort of witchy deck, and I enjoyed it so much that I bought it for my mother. My mother enjoyed it so much that as soon as she saw it, she went to take it home with her without even realizing she still had it in her hands. I'm like, no. I will buy you your own. That's quite all right. I'm definitely not parting with this. This is a great deck. I do enjoy using it. I wish there were more cards. I'm all for like massive decks, like massive oracle decks. The more choices, the better. But I adore this, and I'm definitely keeping this in my collection. Next up, I'm just trying to find places to put all these things. Next up, we have, in this bag that I hate, the Nocturna Oracle. So you can sort of see the theme that I went with all these decks. They are quite dark. This is a linen cardstock matte with shiny gold edges, gilding. I like this deck. It's a bit weird. It's not the usual. I love the cardstock. I think it's gorgeous. I'm not a fan of the shiny gilded edging. You can see that it's already like chipping in some areas. That's just what it does. But I love its size. It's little and petite. I love that. The guidebook definitely could be better. I mainly use the guidebook for its keywords, because then it pretty much just talks about what's on the cards. I'll just talk about the pitcher plant or the night blooming water lily. But I wasn't sure 100% if I was going to keep this, because I do have another deck which I'm bringing up next, which has a very similar energy, but different. Now that I've used them both, I'm like, no, that I have a place for both of these in my collection. They both have like a different thing. This one, Nocturna, is about nocturnal things. So nocturnal animals, nocturnal plants, things you only see at night, which I think is cool. Like, oh, there's an opossum. It's got some things that I don't normally see. A kiwi, for instance. Oh, I love kiwis in other decks, but I have enjoyed it. Like I said, I do wish the guidebook was a bit more substantial, but you know, that's just a minor grumble. And then next we've got, so I've pretty much chosen most of my dark decks. I tend to pair my dark decks together. We've got the Obsidian Oracle Black Edition. So this is the back. We've got the black foiling. You've got a shiny black gilding, but that, like the other, all the shinies, they do chip. This is even more pocket. This is matte cardstock, and even smaller. I love the size. I like the illustrations, the art style a lot. I love the combinations, like this is crane and sage. Oh, nasturtiums, I adore it. I've got so many nasturtiums. Great companion plant, guys. Alstroemeria and peridot, cuttlefish and sand dollar. It's just really interesting. Like the Nocturna too, it just includes elements that I have not seen in other decks. It's really unique in that way. The guidebook, however, for this is excellent. I must admit, like the guidebook's great. I love it. It does talk about like the helicopter seed and the bluebird, but it also has more of the divinatory messages, because that is one of the main things I use my cards for, is sort of like divinatory purposes, or, you know, like self-reflection purposes. But I need that message. I need that like information that, you know, let's break it down what this actually means in terms of how you can apply this to your life or to your thought processes. But once again, I'm definitely 100% keeping this deck. All of these decks, I love all of them. They are all my precious babies. So I'll do a little spread now and read through it while I flip through the cards. Okay, so this is the spread I'm using, closing a chapter. So we've got a card to represent the chapter that's closing, and I've got the Fool, the most important thing I learned during this chapter, and I've got Moonstone, something to reflect upon regarding the chapter, and I've got Spider Lily and Jasper. How can I let go of this closing chapter? I have Strength. And what can I anticipate in this new chapter? And I have Magic Wand, focus your energy on one thing. So I'll flip through while I read. So the chapter that's closing is the Fool. And I'm just going to show you I guess I'll go flip through, or I'm going to flip through these ones. So I'll just move the Strength card aside and I'll put it back. Beginning, inexperience, openness, and spontaneity. The Fool is the pinnacle of possibilities and potential. Like a child who has learned a little and has yet to choose a path in life, this card indicates an abundance of choices, though hints at a lack of information or experience to choose the most optimal route. The infant is surrounded by shapes in the darkness. While an adult may fear what is hidden from view, the infant has not yet learned to fear the unknown and is struck with a sense of wonder. An unclear path is scary, but can also bring new discoveries and untold futures. The child is surrounded by the forms of the four suits, furiously beating wings of wands, fantastical levitating fish of cups, flowers and plants of pentacles, a single butterfly of swords. This card is the beginning of a journey and is a reminder that the start of any new undertaking is both intimidating and exciting, and can also serve as a reminder to trust our instincts. In the absence of learned knowledge, the Fool can only follow his heart. About the artwork. A plot of the Lorenz attractor is shown. Named for Edward Lorenz, a pioneer of chaos theory and origin of the term butterfly effect, the image traces a path that circles one side and can randomly switch to the other. In Lorenz's words, chaos, when the present determines the future, but the approximate present does not approximately determine the future. Chaos theory applies to deterministic and measurable futures, but are highly sensitive to conditions in the beginning. Even the slightest of changes can invalidate any future predictions, causing apparent chaos. So that's the full. So that's the chapter I'm closing. And for me, yeah, that symbolizes that. I had obviously a brand new fresh start. I had many possibilities of which path I could take going forward, and sort of that full starting something new energy now is like closing, now that I have chosen a path, now that I have chosen, you know, a future that I am walking towards. Next up we have in the Nocturna, Moonstone, and this one is meant to symbolize the most important thing I learned during this chapter. I'll just find where it is and read from it. So for me, I'll start for me straight away with Moonstone. The most important thing I learned with closing this chapter is to learn to listen to my own intuition, my own instincts. Moonstone's also a very healing stone for me personally. So it's during this full new energy chapter, I healed a lot of old wounds. By starting fresh with that fresh energy, it's sort of like I wiped the slate clean, and could begin again. Moonstone also reminds me of my partner. It's a stone I associate with him. So it was also the start of like a new love, a new relationship, a healing relationship, a healthy relationship. So these are all the things I learned during this full chapter. So here's what the card says though. Soothing, third eye, tranquility. Moonstone is a type of feldspar and is one of my favorite gemstones due to its ethereal beauty. The shifting cool colors give it a very tranquil feel. Some cultures believe moonstone to be the moon's rays, solidified. It is said to aid with overcoming grief and stress and helps with strengthening intuition and clairvoyance. It is associated with the third eye and crown chakra. If you are in need of recharging, let the moonstone provide healing. So that was that one. I love feldspar. That's stones as well. They're one of my favorites. Labradorite is also one of those. In the next position, something to reflect upon regarding this chapter, I got spider lily and jasper. Something to reflect upon from this chapter. So the keywords for this one were cutting the ties that bind and acting in my best interest. I think that speaks for itself. Spider lilies are flowers often associated with goodbyes. While they can grow anywhere and are truly beautiful, most parts of these flowers are toxic, often used to deter people or animals from land. Jasper is a nurturing stone, absorbing negativity and encouraging honesty, sometimes used to support those facing truths that may be hard to swallow and helping them in times of stress. Oops, sorry guys. Not every situation is healthy, and sometimes you have to face the hard truth of that. There comes a time when you must put yourself first and act in your own best interest, rather than continually sacrificing your wants and desires. Don't be afraid to sever ties, to walk away from a toxic relationship, to leave a place that doesn't nurture you. Consider instead what you may be walking towards. Wow, that's a full-on one. And then in the final position, which is number 4, not the final position. Number 4, how can I let go of this closing chapter? And I got strength. I'm like, yeah. So, strength, compassion, understanding, courage, defiance, protection, strength. A figure stands near a massive coiled snake, her small frame standing upright for a creature that cannot do so itself. The snake can be seen as menacing and dangerous, long a symbol of evil and distrust. Though the figure knows the truth, it is not dangerous in its nature, merely misunderstood and loathed by those who lack the knowledge, projecting their fears onto its menacing appearance. It is scarred, and small arrows pepper its skin. She puts herself between the onslaught and the victim. True strength lies not in aggression when faced with fear, but the time and effort necessary to understand the other. The figure extends an olive branch, symbolic of peace that rains gold upon the snake, and in her other hand snaps a handful of arrows, again standing in defiance of those who want to harm the apparent beast. This is conviction in the face of opposition. To the left and right of the figure stand many spears and halberds, though 3 on each side rise higher than the rest. They recall the Ash conformity test. In this test, a participant is shown a card with 3 bars on it, short, medium, and long, labelled ABC. They are then given another card with a single bar and asked which of the first bars match it. When tested alone, the answer is obvious and the participant nearly always chooses correctly. However, when tested in the presence of peers, whom are all actually actors paid to answer incorrectly, that participant is 37% likely to choose the incorrect answer. Some who answered incorrectly truly believed the majority opinion was correct, while others knew they were incorrect, though chose to not oppose the majority views. So that was that card for that position. Next up, in what can I anticipate in this new chapter I'm starting? I'm just trying to see if there's a yellow card to match the yellow vibes. So in the position of what can I anticipate in this new chapter I'm starting, I got Magic Wand, focus your energy on one thing. And I thought that was so fitting, with the 4 being endless possibilities, any path. Now it's like, okay, focus on that one thing. You've chosen your path, step on it, walk it, live it. So I'll find the Magic Wand, focus your energy on one thing. Success comes in many ways, but most of the time success comes from a strong focus. It is no secret that society forces us to multitask. We are expected to do more and achieve more every day. But in reality, by going after too many things at the same time, we spread our energy too thin. As a result, we do not end up achieving much. Multitasking can slow you down. If you want to create a profound change in your life, choose one thing. Deeply focus all your attention on this one thing. You are a creative and passionate soul with brilliant ideas, but you cannot go after everything at once. In fact, you might not excel in any of them if you do not have the time and energy needed to master them. You can achieve anything you want in your life. You have limitless potential. Chase your dreams. Start by doing one project at a time and focusing all your attention and energy on it. Where focus goes, energy flows, by Tony Robbins. Rituals for limitless focus. What do you genuinely want in this moment? What career do you want? What change in life do you want right now? Do you wish to write a book, invest in stocks, or create an online business? You could want all those things and more, but for now, focus on one thing. Decide on a time frame and commit to your daily practice. Spend at least 30 minutes a day working on that one thing. Do not allow yourself to become distracted. I personally loved all of these decks together. I thought their energy was very complementary. I think aesthetically they look gorgeous. I think they go really, really well. I love this vibe. I love this aesthetic. I had such a blast, and I would 100%, I probably might keep these all together and have them be a family, a deck family. But that's everything from me today. I hope you're having an intriguing morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And as always, stay wild, Star Child.